Welcome back to the pole position. The 2024 presidential election is fast approaching, and we're hearing a lot about battleground states. But what are they? Why are they important, and how do they affect the race? Join me as we take a deep dive into the battleground states of the 2024 presidential election. In this video, I will explain the key battleground states for the American presidential race. First of all, we must try and figure out what a battleground is, and why they are important. A battleground state is a state that is fought over more by each candidate due to how close the vote is in the state. When referring to the vote margin and whether the state is Democratic or Republican, I will be speaking relative to how the state voted in the previous presidential election. In this video, I will divide the battlegrounds into three categories, with Category 1 being the closest margins and Category 3 being the states with the biggest margins. In Category 3, which is any state with a margin between 10 and 15%, we have Virginia, Colorado, and New Mexico being held by the Democrats, while South Carolina, Kansas, and Alaska are being held by Republicans. The Democrat-held states have all been blue since 2008 and have become less marginal over the years, but polls held particularly in Virginia have shown some difficulty for Democrats in the state. Meanwhile, the Republican-held states mentioned are highly unlikely to change hands, as South Carolina has been reliably Republican over the years, and while Democrats have seen odd successes in statewide races like Alaska's congressional election or the governor race in Kansas, this is unlikely to be replicated in a presidential race. Category 2 states are states with a margin between 10 and 5% and are generally closer but still favourable to the previous winner. The Democrats hold 3 states in this tier, with Maine, New Hampshire and Minnesota being within the margin, whilst Republican-held Ohio, Iowa and Texas are also in this tier. Maine is the most interesting due to the system whereby candidates can win electoral votes by winning congressional districts, mentioned in my previous video, with Democrats hoping to hold the state at large, whilst Republicans hope to comfortably win Maine's 2nd congressional district. Minnesota has been the only state to consistently vote Democratic since 1976. However, it has always been relatively close, and nearly went Republican in 2016, whilst New Hampshire has voted Democratic ever since 2008, and has remained relatively close ever since. On the Republican side, we have Texas, which has become more competitive for Democrats over the last few elections, with Trump winning the state in 2020 by just 6 points. It is by far the most valuable state mentioned, with 40 electoral votes, meaning both sides are hoping to do well. Meanwhile, Ohio and Iowa seem to have the opposite effect, with the Republican vote holding relatively steady and even increasing in some statewide races, whilst polling shows that Democrats are not looking likely to make much progress in those 2 states. Ohio is interesting, as no Republican has ever won the presidency without the state, and has only voted for the losing candidate 9 times since becoming a state in 1803, and 3 times in the last century, including the 2020 presidential election. All of the states I have mentioned thus far are ones that I believe are not going to change hands in this race due to their reasonably comfortable margins. That's not to say they won't change hands, but they are most likely to stay the same according to most projections. The next category is the states with margins under 5%, which are seen as the true swing states. The 6 Democrat-held states in this category are the most talked about, as they are the states that Trump needs in order to win the presidency. There are also the 2 Republican-held states of Florida and North Carolina. Florida is an unusual one, as although it was close in 2020, it has since become much more solidly Republican, with Democrats struggling at every level in state and federal elections. North Carolina, on the other hand, has been very close and will most likely remain the same, with Republicans generally favoured to win. The 6 Democrats-held states are Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia. Pennsylvania is the most valuable, with 19 electoral votes. It voted for Biden with a margin of just over 1 point. This is a state that both parties want to win, and much attention is being placed on it. Michigan is another key state, as it also is a close race with 15 electoral votes at stake, with Biden winning by a similar margin to Pennsylvania. This is a state where the conflict in Gaza has affected Democratic support, as it has the largest Muslim population in the country and saw a protest vote in predominantly Muslim communities like Dearborn during the Democratic primaries, with third-party candidates like Cornel West and Jill Stein hoping to gain votes off the Dems, whilst Republicans are hoping to perform better in industrial communities like Macomb County. Wisconsin was an even tighter race, with Door and Sauk counties being the two to watch out for as indicators of whether or not Trump or Harris are in the lead, due to their close margin and tendency to vote for the winner. Georgia only voted Democratic by a margin of 0.3%, and just 12,000 votes stand between a Trump or Harris victory. The suburbs are key in this race, as they have been becoming more blue over the last few cycles, and turnout will be key, whilst Republican rural counties will need a very high turnout for Trump if they hope to flip the state red. Arizona only went for Biden by 11,000 votes, and everything rests on Maricopa County, which is the largest county by population, and has also generally voted for the winner, with a similar suburban situation to Georgia. Finally, Nevada is the only state in this category that didn't vote for Trump in 2016, and was generally more safe for Democrats than other states. However, it has been incredibly close since the last midterm election, with the Republicans actually winning the governor race. Turnout in Clark and Washoe counties will be key, as they are the only two Democrat voting counties and are key population centers. Overall, this is going to be an interesting race. I will spend more time looking at the polls in future videos, so be sure to like and subscribe and follow me on my various social media platforms with the tags listed below, as it really does help my channel and what I'm trying to do. I do apologise for the less than consistent upload time, but I will try to be more consistent in the future. Feel free to leave a comment below about what you want to see next. As always, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.